Welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph D. Mitchell, one of the calendar's astrologers. This portrait is of Raquel Welch. It is part of our Wonder Woman or Superwoman series. It's about actresses who played a lot of action roles. Now, admittedly, Raquel didn't play a huge number of them, but it was also at a time in which women typically didn't play those roles. It wasn't until later that women became more empowered to very physically active roles. Remember, there were no combat positions in the military for women at that time. There were almost no police officers at the time. When she was born in 1940, the only real jobs for women outside the home raising kids were nurse, teacher, maybe librarian, something like that. I mean, it was all things that they were not very aggressive. And yet she played a whole bunch of roles in which she had to be a very physically active woman, a very aggressive, a very brave woman, very brave in an external way, in a very martial way. She had the red hair. I mean, she was a very dynamic person. She was also, of course, very beautiful. What's interesting about her chart is that in this series, we have found that the signs of Mercury and Mars are very prominent in the women who play these types of roles, especially the modern roles. And in some ways, she is the epitome of that. She's born on September 5th, 1940, a Thursday, at 3:04 p.m. Central Daylight Time, that's +5, in Chicago, Illinois. She's born with the sun at 13 degrees Virgo. She also has Mars, Mercury, Neptune, and Pallas Athena, the warrior goddess, all in Virgo, stretching from 10 degrees up to 28 degrees. That's a lot of Virgo. Now, Virgo does show up a lot in actors and actresses in movies. It's because they're very good at following directions. Some Virgos are, but they're very precise. They're good. They're very mutable. Remember, it's one of the mutable signs. It's a very human sign. There's more Virgos than any other sign. So they're very good at kind of filling a lot of roles, which is important. They're very easy to work with. It's one of the qualities of Virgos. And of course, directors pick people who are easy to work with. You don't want to pick an actress or actor who's hard to work with. She has the moon in Scorpio. So here she has the sun in Virgo, a Mercury ruled sign. She has the moon, the sign of her femininity, among other things, in a Mars ruled sign. Remember, the true feminine or responsive ruler of Mars, the sign is Scorpio. She has it in the 12th house. Now, interestingly, she has the sun in the 10th house, the house of career, the house of achievement. This is someone who wanted to be successful, had a strong drive to be successful in her work. She has the moon in the 12th house. We find very strong houses in artists a lot of times, and we find it a lot in people in the movies, because the 12th house is that protected studio. It's the land of imagination. It's the land of make-believe, of creating an illusion. She has the moon, the sign of her femininity, there in a Mars-ruled sign, Scorpio. So that ability to bring power to that situation and sensuality, Scorpio is a sensual sign, was very important in her chart. Okay? She has Sagittarius rising. Now, that's a very athletic sign. It's very, enthusiastic. It's late in the sign, 25 degrees Sagittarius, so it means it's in both tropical and sidereal Sagittarius. So it's truly Sagittarius. And beyond that, it's 25 degrees Sagittarius. That's the position of the galactic center. It's a very esoteric position. One thing she became very well known later in her life is her love of yoga and of wellness and of mindfulness. That Sagittarius at the galactic center rising. It's interesting that Mila Jovovich, the actress who's done a lot of action movies, is born at 25 degrees Sagittarius. She has Jupiter and Saturn conjunct at 14 and 15 degrees Taurus in the 6th house, conjunct loosely Uranus. So 3 big planets in the 6th house in Taurus. That's a Mercury-ruled house. That's the sign. That would be the house of Virgo. So she has these planets in the house of work, of Virgo. In Taurus, right, opposite that moon. So there's a polarity going on between the work that she has to do and the make-believe she creates. What's real interesting is that Jupiter and Saturn in a Venus-ruled sign, remember she's an artist after all, is trine the Sun and the Mars. So her natural beauty, or her ability to work with beauty, Venus-ruled sign, Taurus is one of the signs of beauty, supports that essential sense of self that she has and her physicality. Remember, she has the Mars, the Sun, and Mercury, 10, 13, and 14 degrees. Now, what's interesting is the Uranus at 26 degrees is trine the Neptune and the Pallas Athena. Neptune, illusion, Pallas Athena, the warrior goddess, all in Virgo. So that from the 6th house, Virgo's house, it's supporting the sign Virgo in the 10th house. Her career, her work, her skills support her career. Cool, right? But it's all has strong Mercury and Mars influences all throughout there. Now, where's her Venus? Her Venus is in the 8th house, a Mars-ruled house. It's in the sign of Cancer, which is home, late in the sign too. It's at 27 degrees, conjunct Chiron at 28 degrees, and Vesta at 29 degrees, which is Vesta is a very powerful feminine archetype. Chiron is all about healing. With Venus there, it really made her beauty shine. When Vesta is close to a planet, it makes the planet luminous. Like if Vesta is conjunct the Mars, it makes the martial energy even more martial, more energetic. Conjunct the Venus, it makes the beauty more luminous. In the 8th house, Scorpio's house, it made her appear as more sensual in a very feminine way, but in the sign of Cancer. Interesting, the sign of, a very, very feminine sign. So once again, you have a Mars-ruled house, a Mercury-ruled house, the signs of Mercury-ruled signs, Mars-ruled signs, and then Jupiter rising. And Jupiter, of course, is in the Taurus in the 6th house. So you have this interesting combination of things going on here. What's really interesting about this, and it's a bit different from some of the later actresses, like Jessica Chastain, who's born in Aries, Zoe Saldana, who's born in Gemini, as is Nicole Kidman, who's been in a lot of scary movies, you might say, or action, stressful movies. Those tend to be a lot of Gemini, a lot of Aries, not a lot of Scorpio. She's very much Virgo and Scorpio, right? It's an older model to a certain extent of what we consider feminine. Virgo is the virgin. It's the human body. It's the design of the human body. Virgo falls where it does in the course of the year, right at the beginning of harvest, the major portion of harvest, because during harvest, when the crops had to be sorted, having young women there was tremendously valuable. We live in wine country. During harvest, if you go out to crush, you'll see them sorting the grapes at the wineries, and if it goes through the little grates that, drop the little grids that drop the small grapes out, there'll be a group of young women standing there picking out the bad grapes, sorting it out so that only perfect grapes go into the tanks. This is a long tradition. That's why women at that time were so valuable. Young women were so valuable. Their eyesight was good. They were nimble fingers. Interesting. The older women, they were the winemakers. So it's a really interesting chart that it's an older model. It's also that moon in Scorpio. Moon in Scorpio is not an easy position. It's the confidant position for the moon. It's the fall position into the 12th house. It meant that she had a tremendous amount of sensuality that she could project. And a lot of these more modern action figures don't tend to have the Scorpio moon. They're not sensual. They're powerful, but they're not sensual. And at that time, when they wanted a woman model for this kind of role, they wanted someone who was sexy. She could be strong, but she had to be sexy too. And Raquel Welch fit the bill. So that's the chart. It's part of our Wonder Woman and Superwoman series. Hope you're going to keep watching it. It's really very interesting seeing the connections. So come see us at Planetary Calendar Astrology. And please subscribe. You can find our forecast every Friday for the coming week. And you can find our portraits every Tuesday. They're very educational. I think you can learn a lot from our analysis of the charts. You can also go to planetarycalendar.com to find both of those, but also the planetary calendar because you want to know what's going on, and of course, our books. Until next time, be well.